with less than 2 weeks to go until this year's elections. One of the as yet unexplained, unusual things about this year's elections in particular is the absence of macaca moments. We've been talking about this over the past few days, and as we have noted over the past few days, there have been a lot of moments this year when Republican candidates for office have said embarrassing or extreme things about race. But unlike years past, those candidates this year generally haven't suffered any negative consequences for those comments or for those actions. They certainly haven't been drummed out of politics the way that other candidates have been in years past when things like this have happened. In fact, this year, quite a few candidates who have said or done really out there offensive things about race have not only won their primaries, but they stand a pretty good chance of winning their general elections as well. More interesting and more important, though, than any individual moments of prejudice on the campaign trail this year is the question of whether or not there's any strategic coherence here, whether this really is a sort of Southern strategy 2.0. As we've been trying to tease out this week, the classic Southern strategy pioneered by the Republican Party in the 1960s and the 1970s in the South was to purposely allow your candidates to be seen as sort of bigoted, as a means of locking up the white vote. By appearing prejudiced, you write off all the minority vote, but that's okay. The goal is to lock up the white vote, which is much bigger, hence the word minority. Writing off the minority vote is considered a small price to pay as long as you're able to keep minority turnout relatively low and as long as you're able to lock up every available majority white vote in the process. You can see the mechanics of this at work this year when you see that most of the racial incidents and comments we have seen on the campaign trail this year take the form of white candidates signaling to white voters, essentially, hey, I'm with you. I'm not with them. It's us against them.
What's that guy's name? It's the senator here in West Virginia? Jay Rockefeller. And he just brought to Charleston yesterday Dr. Cho, or Dr. Chow. Or Dr. Chow Ming. I don't know what his name is.
Harry Reid is fighting for a program that would give preferred college tuition rates to none other than illegal aliens, using your money to pay for it, leading to a simple question. What does Harry Reid have against you?
Mostly because I think we do not have a civics literacy test before people can vote in this country. People who could not even spell the word vote or say it in English put a committed socialist ideologue in the White House. Name is Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah, bring back the literacy tests from Jim Crow. Can you believe my opponent is siding with those menacing brown people sneaking through the fence? President Obama's Energy Secretary, Stephen Chu. Oh, you mean Dr. Chow Mein? The unavoidable signal with this stuff is I do not stand with those people. I am not with the minority people. I am not with the minority people. I am not with them. I'm with you. You want to know how much I'm with you? I don't even mind offending them. I'm going to go out of my way to offend them in order to signal to you, white voter, that I am with you and I am not with them. It's an appeal to racial solidarity by white candidates speaking to white voters. We have seen it before in this country. We are now seeing it again. But the uglier thing that gives this kind of stuff its political punch is that you're not just making clear to the electorate that the country is divided along racial lines, that you as a candidate stand with them, you stand with the white folks. You're also making clear that there is an active threat against them. There's a fear component here. White people aren't just separate from minorities in the country. White people need to stand together. White people need to stand together, especially around election time, because white people are in danger. White people are facing a threat. White people are threatened. We have seen that strategy at play this year in politics in terms of how dangerous Latinos are. They're coming across the border. They're coming to get your jobs. Louisiana Senator David Vitter even ran an ad showing menacing brown people coming through a fence, presumably to get to his constituents, even though Louisiana isn't on the border. Maybe he meant the fence was between Louisiana and Mississippi. It does start with M. The idea that they're coming to get you, that they're coming to get you stuff, that has been the rhetoric, even though illegal immigration is actually down in recent years. But still, the political potency is there, right? White people, be afraid of those brown people. They're coming to get you. It's not just brown people, of course. Americans have also been fed a steady diet of be afraid of black people, too. We have seen this on Fox News, in particular since Barack Obama was elected president. Whether it's the new Black Panther Party, two guys who braid their beard hair who nobody ever heard of before Fox News made them famous, or Acorn, which Fox News still contends secretly controls the world. We call them trilateral Acorn. Or Shirley Sherrod or Van Jones. White people, be afraid of the black people. They are coming to take something from you that is rightfully yours. Beyond menacing brown and black people out to get you, though, it's worth pointing out today, because of today's news, that Fox News in particular has also focused on another target, the scary Muslims that are out to get you. That has been a Fox News specialty for a long time now.
If you're a 20 to 30-year-old Islamic male, even if you have no evil intentions, expect to be delayed. We have to profile.
It's time to have a Muslims checkpoint line in America's airports and have Muslims be scrutinized. Yeah. You better believe it. It's time.
There's no question there is a Muslim problem in the world.
The truth is that Muslims tend to be more violent than Christians.
Do you think it's time for the military to have special debriefings of Muslim Army civilian officers?
The other day, I listed case after case of Muslim soldiers with attitude, is what I've called them over the years, who've been able to infiltrate themselves and insinuate themselves in the armed forces despite all sorts of warning signs about their hatred for America.
Muslim Day at Six Flags. I can't imagine that in 1948 they would have had Japanese Day at the water park on December 8th.
Stop with the government Muslim outreach programs, okay? I'm tired of it. While the president was hosting an iftar dinner for Ramadan, by the way, my apologies. I didn't even know Ramadan was happening, so I didn't get you a present. I'm sorry. But I know it's late, but I'm going to put up my Ramadan tree after the program tonight.
Profile Muslims between the ages of 16 and 45. That should be done automatically by professionals.
These names, Muhammad and Yusuf, don't they sound kind of familiar? We have to be able to profile. And I'm sorry, if I see two guys that look like Abadabadu and Abadabada, I'm going to pull them over. I want to find out what you're doing.
If you are an 18 to 28-year-old Muslim man, then you should be strip searched.
Fox News hosts and contributors there. Today, the biggest story in news about the news is that a news analyst named Juan Williams was fired from his job at National Public Radio for having said this about Muslims on Fox News.
When I get on a plane, I got to tell you, if I see people who are in Muslim garb, and I think, they're identifying themselves first and foremost as Muslims, I get worried. I get nervous.
The shorthand headline for what happened with Mr. Williams today is Juan Williams fired from his job because of those comments about Muslims. To be more precise about it, to be more accurate, it should be noted that Juan Williams had two jobs, and he lost one of them. He lost his job on National Public Radio, which said that his comments were, quote, inconsistent with our editorial standards and practices. So Juan Williams is no longer working for National Public Radio. That's true. But he most certainly did not lose his job at Fox News. In fact, today Juan Williams was given a raise at Fox News as a result of this whole thing. Quote, Fox News handed Williams a new 3-year contract Thursday morning in a deal that amounts to nearly $2 million, a considerable bump up from his previous salary. Wow, nearly $2 million. Mazel tov. Fox News chief executive Roger Ailes said of Mr. Williams, quote, he's an honest man whose freedom of speech is protected by Fox News on a daily basis. If you mean freedom of speech in a legal sense, in a constitutional sense, let's be clear here. This is not a First Amendment issue. Juan Williams has the right, every American citizen has the right, constitutionally, to say anything that he wants. All of us do. That's what the First Amendment does. The First Amendment does not guarantee you a paid job as a commentator to say what you want. Your employment as a person paid to speak is at the pleasure of your employer. And in this case, it displeased Juan Williams' employer, at least one of them, for him to have reassured the Fox News audience that he, too, is afraid of Muslims on airplanes and that that's not a bigoted thing. That comment did not fly with one of the people who was paying, one of the organizations that was paying Mr. Williams to say what he thinks. And so Juan Williams lost that job. This is not a First Amendment issue. This is an issue of what your employer is okay with. And at Fox News, it is not only okay to talk about Muslims being scary on airplanes. It is expected. It is part of the agenda. It is what they are selling.
It's time to have a Muslims checkpoint line in America's airports and have Muslims be scrutinized. You better believe it. It's time.
There's no question there is a Muslim problem in the world. If you are an 18 to 28-year-old Muslim man, then you should be strip searched.
When I get on a plane, I got to tell you, if I see people who are in Muslim garb, and I think, they're identifying themselves first and foremost as Muslims, I get worried. I get nervous.
Be afraid, America. Be afraid. And don't forget to vote. Boo!